It is Rugby World Cup pain once more for the Irish as they lose out to New Zealand by 28 points to 24 in what was an absolutely phenomenal match and one of the best matches of rugby I've seen in recent times. Both teams really played their hearts out and left nothing in the tank. It was phenomenal efforts from both teams from the minute go right until the 80th minute. Look, they really did empty the tank, and both sides, especially the Irish now they're departing the tournament, can have some sense of security in the fact that they really did give it all, especially for their amazing travelling support. It's devastation for the Irish. This Irish team does not deserve to go out in a quarter-final. This All Blacks team does not deserve to go out in a quarter-final, but ultimately one of them had to fall short. If I look at some of the other quarter-finals this weekend, Wales, Argentina and England, Fiji, to name a couple, I'd expect both of these teams to run rings around those sides. So look, it shouldn't feel like a quarter-final loss, but ultimately that's what it says on the paper. This could have easily been the Rugby World Cup final. No one would have been disappointed. The quality of rugby was absolutely extraordinary. Both teams, New Zealand in the first half and Ireland in the second half, getting near to 40 phases of continuous play, stretching across minutes and minutes of rugby. That alone just shows you how clinical these sides are, how sort of emotionally connected they are to continually empty the tank and put all their efforts in for one another. So look, phenomenal performances from both sides. We're going to do a little bit of dissecting of the games. I can understand it's very tough for the Irish at this point in time, and look, it's going to be elation for the All Blacks. They've now avenged the 2 defeats of last summer, so they'll be feeling very good about themselves, especially after coming off a lot of stick from the press after losing to South Africa by a hefty scoreline only a couple months ago. So the match started off really shaky for the All Blacks actually. A couple, I think it was 2 or 3, really crooked kicks. Ireland gave away an early penalty, and I think it was Geordie Barrett that skewed his kick and it only went about 10-15 metres into touch. Then the ball off the line out went to Richie Mo'unga, who just skied the ball in the air. A little bit of poor accuracy from the All Blacks, but they managed to regain their composure. It was 5 penalties conceded from the Irish in the first 15 minutes, which was a stat that no one would be expecting. They usually concede about sort of between 9 penalties in an entire match, and they did 5 in the first 15 minutes. Maybe they were potentially a little bit too eager, but look, the stakes are high and emotions are running high, so that can be expected. The All Blacks went through almost 40 phases early on in the first half, really showing their commitment and their willingness to really stretch the Irish team and really take it to them physically. The Irish were very well disciplined in that passage, although as the possession neared the 40 phase mark, they did give away a penalty in which Richie Mo'unga secured the 3 points from. The Irish fell victim to quite a few chip and chases from the All Blacks. They found a lot of space in behind the Irish blitz defence. Beauden Barrett loved to chip and chase, which ultimately set up the Irish conceding the first score to Fainga'anuku. A brilliant bit of work down the left-hand side, with Fainga'anuku passing the ball to Rieko Ioane and then getting it back to score the opening try. Look, it was a very intense start. The Irish were a little bit startled, but they did regain their composure and get 3 points on the board after going 13-0 down, which settled them into the game. And after that, they played their best rugby and really did do a lot of entertaining. Tries for the Irish came from Bundy Aki, Jameson Gibson Park, and a penalty try. The try from Bundy Aki was really phenomenal. Look, he received the ball above his head and found some way to wriggle through a really solid All Blacks defence throughout the whole game. And he found the line going through sort of 5-6 defenders, which was really quite phenomenal and showed why he's one of the best 12s in the world. Jameson Gibson Park's try came off of the rolling maul. I think Aaron Smith has just got yellow carded, so he went through the same gap Aaron Smith would have been in, and he found his way to the line, stretching over to score. And then there was a penalty try in which led to the Cody Taylor yellow card, which was a great driving maul from the Irish. And look, they had a brilliant driving maul in the last 10 minutes, but ultimately it just didn't click, and some phenomenal defence from Geordie Barrett. Look, you see these tries scored all the time, and you see a player go to hold it up, and it just doesn't work. How he did this, how he possessed the strength to roll Rowan Kelleher onto his back, I will never know. The All Blacks tries, I mentioned the one from Fainga'anuku. Ardie Savea scored a lovely try in the first half via some unbelievable hands down the short side. I think it was Will Jordan, just to be able to catch and pass that ball in what was like half a second was just unreal, and he dived dived in the corner. Some impressive conversion kicks from Rishi Mo'unga to convert the Faranganuku try. I don't believe he converted the Sarver try, but nonetheless, it was some very impressive phases of play. And then the Will Jordan try, which for me was just very poor from the Irish. Look, I have no problem with the team going through phases and stretching the team, and eventually something goes wrong and a team scores. But this one was just not excusable from Ireland. Brilliant break from Richie Mo'unga, goes straight through in between Dan Sheehan and Josh van der Fleer, two of Ireland's real best defenders actually. He dissected them and then popped the ball to Will Jordan, and you do not stop him from 30 metres out in open space, and he goes over in the corner. So look, both teams scored 3 tries, and ultimately it came down to the boot of Rishi Mo'unga, and then Geordie Barrett later on in the game. He kicked an amazing penalty from sort of 50 plus, and look, they really stretched out their lead. In terms of the key moments in the game, later on in the game in the second half, there was a crossfield kick to Dan Sheehan in which, look, the ball just bounced up a little bit too high for him, and if it landed in the breadbasket, it would have been at least 5 if not 7 points for the Irish. So that one went begging, unfortunately for them. And then look, as I've just mentioned, the Will Jordan try, it was an absolute kick in the teeth for the Irish. The Irish played very well with their phase play, but they had to work for their tries. I do not feel, look, the All Blacks have to work for it in terms of like technical detail and being very precise and executing the opportunity. But in terms of physical and mental endurance, they didn't have to go through any of that to score that try. And it's a massive kick in the teeth to go from, having to fight for your life to score a try off of a driving maul, 8 men really gritting in to get it over the line, and then New Zealand just making a break from the halfway and turning on the afterburners to score in the corner. They're 2 very different ways of scoring a try, and it definitely has to take a mental toll on the team, which had to fight so hard to score their try. Johnny Sexton missed a kick late on in the second half, which would have meant that in the last series of play where Ireland nearly touched 40 phases, they could have then gone for a drop goal or tried to get a penalty to win the match. That wasn't the case because Johnny Sexton unfortunately pushed his penalty goal, which was definitely kickable, and you'd expect Johnny to get. He pushed that towards the left-hand side of the upright, so Johnny will be disappointed with that effort, but ultimately they did have their chances to win, and the main chance they had to win was, as I've mentioned, the maul and Kelleher specifically being held up over the All Blacks line. Look, I think that's where the game was won and lost. They just didn't take the opportunity. I felt the maul was going to go over any minute. Did Kelleher have to break off? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Conor Murray was eager to get the ball out to execute an opportunity out wide. So look, that is one in which the Irish can ponder over. Ultimately, you have to make a decision in the moment, and they did, and unfortunately it didn't quite pay off. And then from the goal line dropout, Caelan Doris, who never makes mistakes, drops the ball, and it just went from bad to worse for the Irish. The All Blacks then went through some good phases of themselves to close out the game. And then the Irish had their final opportunity going through 40 phases, which was just some of the most amazing rugby and skill I've seen from both an attacking and a defensive team. Look, resourcing rucks continuously whilst being out on your feet, not giving away penalties, and then the All Blacks to stay so disciplined in their line speed, to not give the Irish an advantage play, because that would have been lethal. They would have got the opportunity to try a trick play or some sort of set play move to hopefully score. So the ability for the All Blacks to stop that, and if they gave away a penalty, then the Irish could have used their driving maul again in the corner. They did very well to stop that happening. So look, both teams had their moments. The All Blacks executed theirs, and the Irish, unfortunately, for the Irishmen, didn't and weren't able to do that. In terms of what teams did well and not so well, let's start off with the Irish. Great phase play. I thought to be able to go through 40 phases, as I've mentioned, is honestly, it's just ridiculous. The skill execution to do that is just unreal, and you have to be a world-class team, one of the top 2 teams in the world, to go through that many phases against such stern opposition. It really was quite incredible to watch. Great intensity from the Irish. They were up for it. I mean, the All Blacks were hella up for it as well, but the Irish really did put everything into it. Where it went wrong for Ireland, the specific points in which I thought it would go well for them. The line out really faltered. Some brilliant work from the likes of Brodie Retallick and Scott Barrett getting up in that line out. I think Frizzell as well, just real great disruption. Look, they paid the price once from going up in the line out, and then the Irish got the driving maul going. But apart from that specific moment, they did disrupt a lot of Irish ball. And Johnny Sexton, on many of occasions, decided to go to the touchline to try and score the 7-pointer, whereas he denied 3 points, and then the line out would get turned over. So look, these are massive momentum swings in games in which, look, my ethos is in the early stages of a game, if your line out's not potentially working quite as well as you want it to, just take the 3 points, build a score. But ultimately Ireland did well to stay in the game, so maybe that doesn't come into it. The scrum time, Andrew Porter, who's usually the Mr. Consistent in the Irish front row, who secures a lot of penalties for the Irish, for the Ireland scrum. He just got penalised and conceded penalty after penalty. Some brilliant scrummaging from De Groot and Lomax, and then Williams and Newell, when they came on, were very, very good. And look, Andrew Porter will debate long into the night with Wayne Barnes whether the penalties were fair or not. Wayne Barnes was accusing him of driving in at an angle, which I can see where Wayne Barnes is coming from there. It did look to shift over to the side with his hips sort of popping out of the scrum. But look, I'm not going to pretend I know what happens there, because I really don't. I just listen to what the ref says and try and see what he's saying. So yeah, and then lastly, the ruck time, the breakdown. A lot of you intelligent Irish and All Blacks fans put in the comments saying, look, the breakdown is where this game will be won and lost. And ultimately, you'd have to favour, although Ireland did secure some turnovers, the All Blacks got the turnovers at the breakdown where it mattered. The final one in the 80th minute from the All Blacks was just phenomenal. They did so well to get on that ball so many times, to slow the play down, and then just pounced on the opportunity and took it with both hands. It was a key factor throughout the game. Ardie Savea was just unreal over the ball, and the Irish were getting isolated. Lots of times, the players would just be led there. The support players were just that 2-3 seconds slower than they needed to be, and you don't want to give players in the All Black side those opportunities, because they'll take them every day of the week. In terms of the All Blacks, what they did well, very clinical, took the points when they were on offer from range. And when it came down to it, when they got their opportunities from line breaks, they executed very, very well. Look, even at the start of the game, they made some good progress up the field, didn't get too greedy. They got awarded a penalty, took the 3 points, and then built upon that. So they did very well to make as many points as possible out of their entries to the 22, which ultimately would go on to decide the game. Scrum and line out, unreal from the All Blacks. I thought this was an area of massive weakness, really. That the Irish would want to exploit. Not saying that the All Blacks are weak in that area, but it was a weakness to the Irish, so the Irish could exploit that weakness upon the All Blacks. But they did the exact opposite. They won all of their line-out ball pretty much, I think it was, and then started to have a positive impact via nicking the Irish line-out ball and then turning over some Irish scrums. So look, some phenomenal work from the All Blacks, and you have to appreciate that doesn't happen overnight. That's a lot of sort of data analysis, video analysis that has led to this moment, and ultimately it's the emotional energy that I think won the game for the All Blacks. They were so together in that game, which when it comes down to sort of executing your opportunities, maybe that is where it counts. Now, it's hard to pick holes in areas in which the All Blacks didn't do too well, but I will just say their maul defence. Look, if you're going to come up against teams like France and South Africa in the final or semi-final, in the final, and then I don't think the semi-final's an awful lot of threat to the All Blacks, but they still have to be aware of their maul defence, especially in the final. If they get there, you can't be letting teams like South Africa get that maul set up, because they will punish you, and it nearly cost them in this game with only the heroics from Geordie Barrett holding Kelleher up in the end. So look, that is the main weakness from the All Blacks, but look, what a phenomenal performance it was from them. Clinical. And look, we always talk about Rugby World Cup teams, and we've seen a slight upset, not a huge one, earlier today with Wales falling victim to Argentina. We've seen another result go against the odds of the game in this one, and you have to say Argentina and the All Blacks are historically Rugby World Cup teams and do well in World Cups. So look, I'm still scratching my head to think what it is that phrase means. What is a Rugby World Cup team? Why do they do so well in World Cups? Is it some emotional energy or some particular reason? But ultimately, it's a kick in the teeth for the Irish. I just want to pay tribute to the incredible Irish players that will be retiring this evening. Johnny Sexton is sort of the main name. Phenomenal player. He's made a real impression in Irish rugby history and will go down as one of the greatest Irish players, if not the greatest of all time. He's led this team phenomenally throughout this tournament and deserves all of the flowers he receives. He's really been incredible. And look, the All Blacks have had plenty of names retiring if they were to lose this evening. So look, no team can have it all, and not everyone can get the Richie McCaw fairy tale ending. But the Irish can hold their heads high. They'll find it difficult too, considering they were, number one seed in the world and looking to win the tournament. But they can hold their heads high in the manner they lost. If you compare this to the last quarter-final where they lost to the All Blacks, they just got completely outplayed. They didn't get outplayed today. They were in it till the very last minute, and they could have won it multiple times. So look, unreal from both sides. New Zealand deserved winners in the end, but if the Irish had scored via Kelleher, you wouldn't be complaining either way. On a personal note, I just want to thank all of the Irish supporters for the contribution to giving me your time of day to watch my videos. When I look at my channel analytics, the Irish nation make up a huge amount of my views. I think sort of 70-80%. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your comments and your interaction throughout the World Cup. I hope you stay along and watch some other videos. I'm looking at covering the URC potentially this year. So if you are interested, please let me know. Look, I think you've been phenomenal this World Cup. The Irish support getting behind the team has been nothing short of unreal. Unfortunately, Zombie couldn't be heard in the fairy tale song one more time around the stadium, but it's just been unreal throughout the whole time. I was listening to the Hacker while trying to hear what the Aaron Smith was shouting, but the Irish fans were just drowning it out. They are really some of the best fans in the world. Even I had goosebumps and have been sort of muttering the zombie song around my kitchen. It's just been unreal. The effect it's had on all of the rugby nations has been unreal. So congratulations to the Irish fans and the Irish team. They're a phenomenal outfit and could have easily gone further in this World Cup. And look, I wish them every success for the future. Ultimately, the All Blacks prevail. Unreal performance from them. They deserve to go on to the semi-final based upon how they played this evening. And look, I'm sure the Irish will want to see the All Blacks do well now, considering they were the team that eliminated them. But ultimately, life's not fair and neither's sport. And look, it comes down to the fine nitty-gritty moments in which the All Blacks did unbelievably to make the most of and accumulate some points. So look, I really appreciate you watching this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are. Once again, thank you to all the Irish fans, and thank you to the All Blacks fans who have also been sort of drip feeding into the comment section. Congratulations to you, deserved winners. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section down below. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.